All right, up next, and this was one of the deals that was facilitated by the new CBA being put in place. Ryan Tannehill staying put with the Tennessee Titans. 4 years, $118 million, $62 million guaranteed at signing, a total of $91 million or thereabouts that will be fully guaranteed by the fifth day of the 2021 league year. A great deal, almost $30 million per year for a guy who had a hot potato contract last year where the Dolphins had to pay part of it to unload him onto the Titans, Chris.
Yeah, no, I know. It is a great deal. Our quarterback's overpaid, yes, but, this is the way it is right now in our current NFL market and the going price for starting quarterbacks. He certainly has done more than Jimmy Garoppolo did to justify his $27.5 million a year contract a few years back. So we can say that right off the bat, let alone I think Ryan Tannehill is really just a perfect fit for how the Tennessee Titans want to play football. I mean, they want to play ball control. They want to take shots down the field, and then within that, yeah, the offense isn't always going to be this overly creative, greatest show on turf type play. They need a quarterback who can move and make plays off schedule, let alone we know they want to run Derrick Henry and do that. And Ryan Tannehill is very athletic to have his own run game that can, make it harder on defenses schematically with the read options and some of the quarterback design runs. So I think he really fits their skill set, let alone he's in the prime of his career. He's much better player than people have ever given him credit for. And I think all of those are the reasons why the Tennessee Titans realized that a guy like Ryan Tannehill was a better fit than Tom Brady.
They're giving him $62 million for the first 2 years when you look at the signing bonus and the salaries. Do you think they ever were serious about pursuing Tom Brady when you see that kind of commitment to Ryan Tannehill?
I don't. I think that they probably, John Robinson, Mike Vrabel, them being from New England, I'm sure they tossed around the idea a little bit. Even with ownership, it is Tom Brady. He could light Nashville on fire as far as excitement goes. I would think they thought about it a little. But again, the risk reward to bring a guy in who's 43 years old, who might only be there for 1 year, or let's say he pulls a hamstring in week 1 of the NFL season, then you're going to everyone's going to be like, well, you didn't sign a good backup? You're stupid. He's 43 years old. I mean, how did you not expect that? So I think all of those things and just realizing how talented Ryan Tannehill was, the year he had and everything, yeah, it makes me believe that it was thought about, but I don't think it was real serious there in Tennessee.
And another thing I like about this deal, Chris, look, it pays out real money with that $91 million over the first 3 years, which is a practical matter, will be fully guaranteed. They're not going to cut him after 1 year and let him walk away with $62 million subject to an offset. So he's getting $91 million over 3 years. There's only one dummy year on the back end that isn't guaranteed. They didn't insist on a 6-year deal, and that's good for Tannehill. He'll get back to the market after 4 years or force a restructuring or an extension before then. A lot of times you see deals that pay out this much money. You've got those phony numbers on the back end where the team controls the player, not the other way around. And, Aaron Rodgers, your all-time favorite quarterback, he always does those ultra-long-term deals. There's an argument to be made to cut them off, and that's what Tannehill did, cutting it off at 4 years without being controlled by the Titans for year 5 and year 6.
I think, Mike, I'm glad you brought it up because I think that was probably the most surprising thing to me about the contract. Yes, it's great for players and Ryan Tannehill that he's putting the pressure on the team, the market, everything like that. But I thought maybe he would take a hair more of a team-friendly deal to make it 5 or 6 years just to lower that per-year number. But obviously, Tennessee was very comfortable, and I think that speaks loudly to how good they feel about what they saw from Ryan Tannehill this year. And again, I hear people, go, well, they didn't even have to throw the ball that much in the playoffs. Okay, I get it, but it wasn't like they were avoiding throwing the ball like we saw in the second half with Jimmy Garoppolo against the Minnesota Vikings. The Baltimore Ravens game, he came out and made a lot of big throws. Then they just got a cushioned lead to where they said, okay, let's drop back. We don't think Baltimore can throw the ball every play and beat us. Let's just run the ball and run this clock out. It wasn't like they were like, oh, no, we're so scared of what Ryan Tannehill might do, and let's phase him out of the game plan. I think people got to remember that, too. He threw 2 big touchdown passes deep down the field early on in that Ravens game that gave them the lead to then allow them to play a more conservative style.
117.5 passer rating, fourth highest single season passer rating in league history. And yes, he only started 10 games, but the Titans knew after studying him for a full year. And the other thing about Tom Brady, Chris, you mentioned John Robinson, the GM of the team, Mike Vrabel, the coach of the team. Look, they have access to the same film that the rest of the league does, and they were able to look at it and come to a conclusion that Father Time may be beginning the process of whacking Tom Brady over the head with that giant hourglass and or the sickle or the scythe or whatever the hell it is he carries around, his staff. Whatever it is, he's closing in on winning. Tom Brady, like the rest of us, eventually will lose to Father Time, and it could be they looked at the film, Chris, and decided now's the time to not make the investment in Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think that's very real. Again, I will go back, and then, just we talked about the formula in which the Tennessee Titans play, and yes, I don't think that's conducive to a guy like Tom Brady at 43 years old. I don't, where, hey, we want you to stand in the pocket and let A.J. Brown work downfield to throw 20 and 30-yard passes down the field, and you might get crushed doing it. That was what I would say, and I know some other evaluators out there in the NFL too, would be the one thing that jumps out about Brady and his play on film is I think there's a real question of whether he's willing to stand in the pocket and make big throws down the field and take the punishment that comes along with that. And that's why I question whether the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Bruce Arians will work with Brady as well to further that point, because as we know, that's what Bruce Arians expects. You say it a million times, no risk it, no biscuit. And that means you don't stand in there and make big throws, then you're not going to get that biscuit. And I don't know if Tom Brady is willing to play that style of football at this point of his career.
He'll say, I don't want a biscuit. I don't eat biscuits. That's what he'd say. All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.